There once had been a time when I thought I wasn't an asshole, that I wasn't the problem. That period where I believed the hype that I was a good kid and a nice guy. It was that nice guy part that so often figured into my narrative of being disabused by others who were honest with me, whether I was ready to be so honest with myself or not. The night I met Norm was at some punk rock show on the main floor of St. Andy's in downtown Detroit. It might have been 3 floors of fun night, what was colloquially known at the time as free whores for fun. I was under 21, but down beers anyways, or if I couldn't get a hold of those, I'd just do some acid, maybe smoke a little weed, or find some ecstasy before opening the old theater door, paying my couple of bucks entry, and heading inside. My surplus military issue parka had plenty of pockets for road pops. Covered in punk rock, scooter rally, and northern soul patches, it placed me in no group, and yet every group I gave a shit about, all in one inane gesture of self-righteous exclusion. This short, shaggy-headed, goatee-faced whip guy wearing a Pharaoh's SC bomber jacket, smoking like 100 cigarettes at a time, stepped up to me. I got a fucked up P200 with a kit, but when it runs, it is badass, he said to me with an odd Southern Californian meets Michigander accent, the word badass lingering on forever. Badass. You ride scooters? Yeah, I ride scooters. I got a modded out Vespa VNA. I'm Andy. The words sliding lazily and uncontrollably loud out of my drunken mouth, the thumping of bass and screech of guitar shaking my already shaky rail-thin frame. Norm wasn't a handsome man, but he was confident in a way that made him completely fuckably attractive. Even before settling into some middle-aged sense of sexual ambiguity, I was oddly drawn to him. Tattooed and pierced head to toe, long before the first fucking millennium-era hipster was born, he pulled back his bomber sleeve to show me a collection of Scooter Boy and skinhead tattoos covering his forearms. Hold fast in fading ink across his knuckles. If you're blasting down the highway or banging a chick, fucking hold fast, Norm shouted to me in those first moments. Then he introduced me to Amy, his wife. We exchanged phone numbers. Back in those days, there weren't many of us scooter boys in the Midwest, especially that I knew. And in Detroit, you had to stick together, because you couldn't count on Detroit for anything but getting into trouble. He called me a few days later and told me to meet him at City Club, also known as Shitty Club, located in the basement of a mostly cracked out downtown hotel, the Leland, with the walls painted in day glow and a crowd that resembled a massive leather-clad BDSM orgy. I was nobody there, and I could tell any lie I wanted. It felt like home. Driving down I-75, pushing 85 past Hamtramck in my old Plymouth Horizon, already fuzzy from a 40-ounce of Old English and chewing on spearmint gum, my skin was crawling. I was looking for ways out of my skull, my mind full of claustrophobia, all trapped inside that bone prison, with neurons popping off in an attempt to blast an escape route out of there. I think it's always been this way, washing my thoughts in alcohol and adrenaline, hiding out among the other night creeps. It helped calm my anxiety. Without the availability of GPS or the mental capacity to look at a map, my steering wheel seemed to function like a divining rod leading me directly to the nondescript parking lot and the 20-ish story blank brick wall, broken up only by a service entry halfway below street level that served as my doorway into this world. Walking toward the dance floor, I spotted Norm and his girlfriend. My girlfriend, Jen, was at home or out with friends somewhere, or who the fuck even remembers. And that's the thing about drug abuse and alcoholism. Who the fuck even remembers? Except for those moments I can't escape. Those facts that I can't let go of. Those stories I keep alive without knowing why. At this moment, though, it seems so important to remember if I was with Jen or not. Because I think that if I was with her, if I was still caring for her, still coming home to her after degrading and stupid and self-destructive nights of debauchery, That would go a long way to understanding why I feel like such a sack of shit. But there are facts I can't remember, even as I tell you that she was still with me, still waiting for me at home. Maybe it helps to make up stories when you can't remember the truth, as if you might not have really been alive at all if it were not for the story you're telling yourself, as if it is the words that make it real. The world my consciousness inhabits is bound somewhere within my personal experience, imagined scenarios, and my inability to discern between them, between the fact and the fiction. The blackouts were frequent, giving me even more opportunity to divine my own truth out of the few facts available to me. Norm bellied up to this mental illness buffet of mine, grabbed a knife and fork, and stuffed himself in my world. His manic, intentionally bad behavior drawing me in until there was no turning back, similar to how cops manipulate confessions, trapping their prey seemingly without effort. Just to turn a phrase or two: good cop, bad cop, liars, all liars. Fucking hate cops. I convinced myself I was just an observer, my consciousness detaching with every new intoxicant I ingested, allowing me to float outside my body, watching myself partake in all manner of social taboo as if it wasn't me at all. The next morning, less than a week after first meeting her, I was lying to Norm's wife, Amy, telling her about him sleeping on my futon, then about him being down the street getting cigarettes. Then I found myself picking him up from some flea trap motel near the airport where he'd gotten into some sort of sex swap poker game between his girlfriend and a cousin or boyfriend or something. Dude, Amy called? Yeah, twice. Probably more, but I stopped answering. I told her he slept on the futon and went to get smokes. Shit, you got some smokes? I ain't got 2 nickels to rub a dick with, much less a pack of smokes. Can't go home empty-handed. Yeah, I got you covered. It was all that easy. I got you covered. It was what a nice guy would do. But really, it was so much of me wanting not to be a nice guy. Wanting to be more like Norm. Wanting to think a blowjob on the main floor of Free Whores for Fun was totally acceptable. I spent my weekdays in a high-rise out in the suburbs as a computer tech, surrounded by all the trappings of large parking lots and boxy concrete office towers, a bleak reflection of Soviet-era construction in capitalist America, where we all somehow have decided that what we've created is better, that our injustices are just enough. I would sometimes vomit in my cubicle trash can after an hour's sleep and little to no sobriety over the preceding 14 or so hours since I'd last sat in the same seat. I had to keep a job, however, because Norm couldn't. He'd learned as a military mechanic how to use vice grips to hold his sleeves and thus arms up in the undercarriage of a Hummer, all the while snoring away, laying flat back on a creeper, his Navy training translating into civilian life. Banging his girlfriend, come airport janitor, co-worker in the Detroit Metro bathroom ultimately led to his dismissal. At least I think that may have been the story. Regardless, I had to support my girlfriend, myself, and now at some level Norm too. It was the first of many similar roles I play in life as support system for other people. And as such, I used it as an excuse to continue pretending I was a decent human being. I was caring, I was a nurturer, I was good, but I wasn't.